So what does it mean to not take PAC money? Like, so for people at home, they might hear about PACs, but not quite understand what that means. What are you allowed to take? What do you not take?
Yeah, so a political action committee essentially allows corporations or organizations to bundle contributions from their members and channel them to members of Congress, and can cut checks for $10,000 a pop. And for members of Congress who care about the re-election, and that is just about every single one of them, this is the surest, fastest way to raise the money that you need to be able to serve your constituents. And getting to know most of these fellow members of Congress, they're there for the right reasons. They ran to serve their constituents. They care deeply about the issues that move them to public service in the first place. But they make this deal that I'll give a little bit in terms of access and maybe outcome. No skin off my back to vote for something that doesn't really concern my constituents, that's only going to affect the national treasury by a couple $1 million here or there, if it means that I can get reelected to do that important work that I need. But it is death by 1,000 cuts to our democracy, and it explains the horrific dysfunction, the inability to fund our government beyond December of this year to move forward on immigration reform, to address any of the fundamental challenges that our country should be up for doing, but has been incapable of because the system is so corrupted and corroded by all the money that has poured in over all the years. And so for the last few years, I haven't taken any PAC money at all because I don't want my constituents to wonder on the Armed Services Committee, am I doing the bidding of the people of Texas or the Boeing Corporation or Northrop Grumman or Lockheed Martin or any of those others who pay to ensure that their voice, their perspective is heard in these issues. The only voice or perspective that really should matter are those of human beings, the people that we represent, constituents, Americans, Texans. And so by not taking PAC money, that, as you say, frees me, one, from the perception, and two, from ever having that thought running through my head. Do I really want to piss these guys off? They've given me so much money. It's so critical to my ability to raise for re-election. Why not just cut them this one deal, vote this one way, support this one amendment so that I can keep that money coming through? That's the calculation that countless members of Congress have made. And here's the other side of it. In the first quarter of this Senate campaign, we raised $2.1 million. Average contribution was $44. Zero of it came from PACs. And we outraised the sitting senator, who is the poster child for PAC money, who has a national fundraising base, by $500,000. So our faith in people was rewarded by people, and 81% of that came from the state of Texas. That was Texans believing in something better for Texas. And so the number of people who are coming in to this campaign, their belief in this, especially the young people who will come up to me at a town hall or a rally and they'll say, the only reason I'm here is because you don't take PAC money. Their BS detector is as sharp and exquisite as any on the face of the planet. They know when this deal is rigged, and they know that we're running this in a way to unrig the system. Ro Khanna, congressman from California, approached me on the floor of the House and he said, hey Beto, you don't take PAC money, I don't take PAC money. Let's introduce a bill that would prevent members of Congress from taking PAC money. And I said, that's great, but I'm sure somebody's already doing this, Ro. I mean, this idea is as old as PACs.
That's wonderfully naive of you. Okay.
So I go back to my office and I say, hey, find out who's introduced the no PAC bill, and let's get on it and make sure that Ro's office knows about it as well. My team comes back, no one's introduced it this Congress. We'll find out who's introduced it last Congress or some Congress before, ask their permission if we can introduce it this one. No one's ever written the No PAC Act in Congress. It was Ro Khanna and myself doing it, and it won't pass this session if we're honest with ourselves. But what will happen is if a Democrat wins in Texas for the first time in 30 years and does so by running on the issues that he cares about, having the courage of his convictions, and not taking corporate cash, then that will be, at least in part, the model that other people run on going forward. That's the way that we get PACs out of campaigns, is by winning a race without PAC help. And that's the way that we help to get our democracy back. So I think there's a lot riding on this race and on the way that we do it. But I also think there's a lot to encourage us by the success that we've had so far.
So but clarification, because I'm really curious about it. So no corporate PAC money, also no interest groups, even if they're good interest groups, no unions, no PAC money at all?
No PAC money at all. And there are certainly organizations that have PACs with whom I'm in agreement with their policy goals. But I think the rule applies to everyone. You, as my potential constituent in Texas, never want to wonder whether Beto's voting a certain way because he got a lot of money from a certain organization. You want him listening to you at town hall meetings, being accountable to those he represents, being responsive to people, not special interests, not corporations, not PACs, no matter who they are. I think it's so much cleaner, so much easier, and every cycle of fundraising where we report to the public where we raised our money from, we get to put a big fat 0 next to political action committees. And I want it to be that way. I want it to be that clear and that easy and that simple.